Morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Coffee with the Critters. It's really quiet in here. Did I just say that? I think I just jinxed myself. It's been very quiet here in this room this morning. I'm sitting here with a couple of the animals. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Critters. Let's see. Come up and say hi. Come here. Come here. Yeah, I mean it. Let's go. Nice job. Levi, our deaf bulldog, who was in our workshop last week in the pet tutor, which is still going on now. We have a private group called Pet Tutor, where Wes Anderson is part of it and his whole team. We had a bunch of people here last week, and we did a live stream of the whole event, and it's continuing. So we're showing live streams of all the different work we're doing with the pet tour with numerous different animals. Good morning, everybody. Hey, welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Critters. Daphne, congratulations on your purchase of your land. I don't know what Facebook did different, but I'm really liking it because I haven't been able to see anybody's feed unless I personally go out and look for you. And this morning I wake up and I was like, there's all my friends doing all these great things. So good morning. Peekaboo! Welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Critters. Didn't I just say it was quiet? For those that aren't familiar with the work that we do, my name's Laura Joseph. I'm owner of the Animal Behavior Center. We're located in Northwest Ohio in the United States, but our location doesn't really matter because our services are all based through online learning, where we're reaching people all over the world. We do have clients from numerous different countries, and I can't thank you enough. Our mission here is to educate the public in knowing how to do better with the animals in their care. Back on my spiel, Laura Joseph, owner of the Animal Behavior Center. We're an international educational center where we teach people all over the world how to empower their lives, and the lives of their animals through our online services using applied behavior analysis and positive reinforcement. There we go. I should know that line very well. I've been singing it every Sunday morning for the past over 4 years now. So we have a lot of things going on and coming up, as we always do. I love live streaming because I love engagement with people, and I can do that here through our live streaming services. So first of all, before we go any further, are you guys liking the notifications you're getting of being reminded of Coffee with the Critters? My phone blows up around 8:30 in the morning. So with things like this, you get a little notification. We're getting ready to go live with Coffee with the Critters. Are you attending? And I sit there and watch each and every notification because it buzzes on my Apple Watch. And I see Pam Hobby's coming, Daphne's coming. Let's see, who else? Bonnie Krantzman was the last one. Yeah. Hey, Jen. Good morning. Good morning, Jen, Pam, Lori, Shelley, Tim, Joy. Yes, Joy. I was just messaging with you this week. I'll get back in touch with you. Good morning, everybody. I'm looking through everybody's names. Samantha. Yes, I just commented on your Facebook page this morning, too. Eva, welcome back to the Parrot Project. Melissa, I will see you on Wednesday. Yeah, so very rarely will I go into somebody's house and do a consultation. And because a lot of times I don't necessarily need to. I can see true raw behavior when the animal doesn't know I'm watching, and I can do that through your computer. That sounds a little creepy. When you allow me to. Yeah. But this Wednesday, I am heading to Melissa's house. Wednesday night at 5:30, I'll be live streaming our consult in our level 1 membership. Our level 1 membership is for companion animal lovers. Level 2 is more for not necessarily, we do have a lot of professional animal trainers, but not limited to, where people want to know more about using applied behavior analysis with the animals they live with or work with. So in our level 2, we have several wildlife rehab centers, zoos, professional trainers, board certified behavior analysts, and the list goes in. Anthrozoologist for Pat Anderson, if she's in here. Yes, there she is. Good morning. Yes. Okay. So let's get started. Where was I going? Yeah, let's get started. I knew I was going to have this. Hey, Sylvia. I knew I was going to have this topic this week. Did you guys see my live stream the other day when I was live streaming with Suki, our blue-fronted Amazon? I know we have a lot of parrots here. I love birds. I really try to hide that. And believe it or not, there was a day where I didn't care for them. And that was a day that I didn't know better. Now I do. We can always do better. Did you see my live stream the other day? Even though I work with a lot of birds, I work with the laws of behavior, which correlate across species. I was just having a fabulous conversation yesterday with one of our new volunteers, Brittany. She's a registered behavior technician, and her and I were live streaming in here yesterday in the pet tutor group, and we had so many brainstorming conversations on laws of behavior. How I should have just live streamed because it was pretty cool. What? She works with people within the autistic spectrum, and she's here learning how these laws of behavior apply with animals. And we were live streaming with Levi, our deaf dog, in the pet tutor workshop, and we were stumbling, we were fumbling. And a lot of what I do is I may have a plan in my head of what I'm going to do, but it's you have to be ready to change and work on the fly, because what we had implemented was not working. And within the first training session, boom, we had a problem. Defined problem. It wasn't going the way we expected. So we arranged the environment, applied behavior analysis using environmental events to control behavior. And we started seeing progress. We did like 3 or 4 live stream training sessions, like 2-minute training sessions within 10 minutes. Yes, Kitty is on here. Kitty Sharkey from out west. Yes. So I'm just taking a look of who all's in here. Great, thank you. Wow, got a lot of people in here already, and it's 9:08. Did you see my live stream with Suki? Go! And it was a public live stream here on the Animal Behavior Center. I love to work with exotics. I love to work with wild, undomesticated, exotic animals, because they're not very resilient and there's not a lot of room for mistakes. Do I make mistakes? Absolutely. I just make sure I learn from them. Let's get this off of here. There we go. I just make sure I learn from them. My live stream with Suki was saying, I can't just go up and start interacting. There she is. Right there. I can't just go up and start interacting with her and expect to get into her enclosure. Suki is a complicated bird. Yes, she makes you put on your thinking cap. I can't just walk into her enclosure. She's very super bonded with the bird next to her. Here's identification of punishment and reinforcement. You walk in between her line of sight with the bird she's over bonded with, you're just taking another step back in getting into her enclosure. I worked with her for probably 2 hours, starting showing how I work on the outside of enclosure to start to learn how to read and understand behavior. I never take behavior for granted. And she was showing signs, no, you are not welcome in here. And then within a couple of hours, I was live streaming with her on my shoulder. Gosh, my head is going so many different directions. I was just listening and watching documentaries this morning on the effects of stress on the brain, on the body. It was correlating to people, but I was sitting there saying, this is how it correlates to animals. Yeah, so I'm just reading everybody. Adrienne says, I've found this to be true with many of the animals she's worked with. This is why I like working with a lot of zoo animals. Talk about history or reinforcement for desired and undesired behavior, working with genetics, working with the individual, working with that history of reinforcement, working with abnormal repetitive behaviors. Peekaboo, Rocky. Eye contact. Works every time. Almost. Yeah, so if you haven't watched those live streams, go back and watch them. And if you're thinking just about parrots, replace the parrot with any other animal. I know several of my friends in here are professional dog trainers, and you run into the same situation. Over bonding, separation anxiety, moving too far too fast. Yeah, so that is peekaboo, Rocky, intermittent schedule reinforcement. Peekaboo. That's the topic of our episode this morning, common mistakes made with animals. And I almost didn't even want to call them mistakes, but I was out of time, so I said, good enough, gets my point across. But I want this live stream to be involving everybody, very interactive, because you are going to have things that you want to say that I might not be thinking of. So before I get started on some things coming up, I wanted to say, if you want to look for any of the work that we do here at the Animal Behavior Center, you can find it on our website, theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. And you can always get in touch with me by emailing me. I answer all my emails personally, which can take me some time. After Coffee with the Critters, I go up to my office and sit for about 5 hours responding to emails. That's okay. You're reaching out to me is a reinforcer of mine, because it means you have a suggestion or you want to know how to do better. I would always take that time with people who want to know how to do better. You can reach me at my email address, laura@theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. Thank you, Karen, for posting that. Okay, so, yep, let me scroll through my photos. Back up here, we are being very diligent on posting all of our events on our website and right here on our Facebook page. So be sure to check that out. We have some things coming up. I'm going to be working on that. You're not going to want to miss next weekend's Coffee with the Critters. You are not going to want to miss it. With that being said, next weekend, I will be telling Sam's story and some things that happened behind the scenes that I've never told anybody. And that's going to be a tough one. Yes, I know next week is Mother's Day. We hope to reach you before you go spend your day with your mom. So don't miss that next weekend. That I will be live streaming with Jeannie Gilligan, owner of A Helping Wing. And I'm going to go through a lot of different things. And I want her perspective on some different things. And I may have a few extra special guests. So pay attention to the Facebook page, because yes, I have been in touch with the president of the company that the commercial was shot for. And I've also been in touch with this week, the producer, the production company for the commercial that Rocky's here truly. Not his commercial. The commercial is due out in May, and as soon as it goes live, they have both agreed to come on and do a live stream with me about the whole making of the commercial, all that stuff. Yeah. Okay, and I already talked about this. The Pet Tutor Workshop. We'll be live streaming for at least 6 more weeks, showing numerous different animals how we do it. Yesterday I was live streaming with the pet tutor showing how I use it to trim Milo, the pig's hooves, and I was doing that while a pigeon was on my head in the live stream. But that is cello. And let's see. Oh, one last thing. Nice job, Rock. Ring that bell. This is what we're training with the pet tutor. Nice job, Rock. He's initiating a training session. And if I had the pet tutor over there, I'd be clicking the remote control and reinforcing that. One last thing before we get started. Good morning, Jeannie, and happy anniversary. Did you guys see the piece of work that Lily Chin and I have been working on for several weeks? Lily Chin is well known for her graphics within the dog community. I had reached out and asked her for help with the parrot community. This was a conversation based on Vicki Ronchetti and I had a year ago when her and I were giving a workshop through the Pet Professional Guild at Best Friends in Utah. So yeah, I finally have it, and it's on the Animal Behavior Center's Facebook page. And I think within the first 24 hours, it had over 500 shares. I haven't looked at it in the past 24 hours, so I don't know. Yes, Daphne says yes. So yeah, it's there for you to share. And I already have, thanks Ev, I already have several different ones in mind. I can only, peekaboo, I can only put so many graphics on the page. And I tried to pick the ones that I thought were some of the top most important. But you'll see what I have in mind next. Good morning, Aline. Okay, let's get started because I want to hear your feedback as well. Some of the most common mistakes we make with animals. I have a list that I wrote while I was in the shower this morning. Some of these you hear me talk about a lot, some you may not, but I also want to hear from your perspective as well. And these are in no particular order, so let's see. Some of the most common mistakes I see in the animal world. Thanks, Candace. Some of the most common I see in the animal world, and sorry, I'm reading. Pat, did you get a cockatiel? Why do you have a cockatiel on your photo? Your poster is great contribution. Thanks, Petrus. Do you think it's possible to make an accurate one for general parrot behaviors? Stay tuned. You write in the shower? I do. One of our volunteers, Maddie Split, she bought me a fabulous gift, which I bought one for Deb Jones as a gift a while ago. Some of my best thinking is done in the shower because, or when I'm blow drying my hair, because those are times where I'm focusing on one thing, cleaning my body or blow drying my hair, and my mind races, and I have all these what I think are fabulous ideas, and I have no place to write them down. So Maddie Split bought me something called Water Notes. You can buy them on Amazon. It's a suction cup, waterproof pad of paper that sticks to the wall and a pencil, and I sit in there and write all kinds of ideas. There's a great one. Here's a great one. Shelley commented, and I didn't even think about this. If you have not done something in a long time, don't assume you can pick up where you left off. That's correct. And that also happens between training sessions during shaping. Shaping is reinforcing small approximations towards the target behavior, towards the desired behavior. My training sessions, small. And if you're living with animals, if you're working with animals, if you're around animals, they can see, hear, smell, feel. Which one did I leave out? Whatever. All the five senses. If they can do any one of those, you're training that animal whether you realize it or not. The key question is, what are you training? Yeah. So training is communication, and communicating using positive reinforcement and applied behavior analysis is the best form of communication I have found with any animal. And believe me, I wasn't born knowing how to do this. B.F. Skinner says the most common form of behavior control today is coercion, and he is correct. meaning do it or else. It's very common in the workplace. So I remember taking my dog for a walk, and I'd have to carry a stick to twitch his butt to keep him from pulling on the leash. Positive punishment and negative reinforcement at play there. I know better now. I didn't then. Did I get the behavior I wanted? Yeah, it worked. That was the reinforcer for me. But now I know the consequences, and I could have done a lot better, and my life could have been so much happier with Corbin, my Dalmatian, and his life could have been so much happier with mine if I knew. But what you chewing on? Spit it out. Nice job. There's one that just happened. Reinforcement on a continuous schedule. I didn't know any better. Okay. So did I get the behavior I wanted? Yeah. Did I see the consequences of using aversives to control behavior? Yep, but I didn't know what I was seeing. Okay. And did the behavior actually go away? No, it did not. So it went away temporarily, but I had to carry that stick on the whole 40-minute walk, and I had to keep twitching his butt every time he'd pull. When I would twitch his butt, the pulling would stop, but within several feet, it would start up again. There's a lot of twitching. So if I would have known better, that would have been great. But here I am. This is what we do. And that's why I like to focus it on exotics, just to show, because a lot of times working with exotics, behavior can be subtle. I'm working with a lot of animals with very long lifespans. I'm working with animals that are usually in caged environments. Those caged environments lack control, choice, and complexity. And you can see the side effects of the lack of those three in behavior. All right. People still coming in. Yeah. So a couple other ones I have written down. I need to write these. I need to scratch these off as we come across them. Anybody have any input? I know based on Shelley's last comment, when I'm in a training session, they are short training sessions, usually 3 minutes and under, but not necessarily just 3, because ending a training session too soon can actually punish behavior, desired behavior. Length of delivery of reinforcement, too short, can actually punish behavior, and poison the actual training session. Sorry, I'm not trying to get deep. When you're shaping, watching him forage, when you're shaping, reinforcing really small approximations towards the target behavior between each training session. Yesterday, we did a 2-minute training session with Levi. We stopped for 20 seconds and we started back up again. When I started back up again, I don't necessarily start where the last one ended 15 seconds ago. I may take a couple of steps back in the training session and then start moving forward. The longer in between those training sessions, sometimes the further back we have to go. And a lot of people take the word assumption out of the equation because it'll get you in trouble. It'll get you hurt too. A lot of people assume the animal knows what you're asking. That can get pretty deep. I don't. I read behavior. All right. I know some people said, let's see, Kelly Brown said going too fast or too slow. Kelly, yep, I agree with you. I can see going too slow, training too slow, or not delivering reinforcers fast enough in the initial stages of training. I can see that actually reinforcing other undesired behaviors. We were just talking about this last week in the pet tutor workshop, where they were using a term called mugging, where if you do not train fast enough, the animal starts pushing at the treat dispenser. I do not want to see the animal do that, because now you have to counter condition that. And God forbid a treat falls out when the animal's actually hitting the treat dispenser. If a treat falls out, boom, it works for the animal. And sometimes all it takes is that one time. The animal, it worked last time, so let's keep doing it. And I even commented in the middle of the training session, I was like, bump up your rate of reinforcement. Before the animal can even mug, bump it up. And I'm getting ready to show an example with Rico, our umbrella cockatoo, with the pet tutor doing that exact same thing. What is the behavior you want them to do instead? So here's another one, telling the animal no. We don't tell them no. If the word no comes out of my mouth, I guarantee you the animals don't know what it means, because I don't use it. And well, I don't implement it in a behavior sense. What I'll do is reinforce, ask for another behavior. So Rico, the pet tutor, was sitting here. He had 1 foot on the perch, 1 foot on the side of the cage to figure out how to disassemble the cage mount. And I was like, that is not the behavior I want. So what am I going to reinforce instead? So I asked for him to station. So he knew what that meant. It meant 2 feet on the perch. And as soon as that foot hit, boom, good. Hit the remote control. I'm reinforcing 2 feet on the station. And so you guys are commenting, too fast, too slow. Kimberly says, not realizing what was a reinforcer before is not working. Changing the reinforcer to something else. Yes, great, Kimberly. Kimberly is in level 1, I believe, Kimberly. And I think, are you also in the Parrot Project? I can't remember. But Kimberly, I think, is a board certified behavior analyst, right, Kimberly? Yeah, so in reference to what Kimberly's saying is, I tell people, build your list of reinforcers. Do not think that reinforcers, I know positive reinforcement trainers get called cookie pushers. Whatever, be a happy cookie pusher. Fine, whatever. But here we also say that, peekaboo, and Wes noticed this, last week when he was here. Just within 5 minutes of watching me here in this room with the birds, the dogs, the pig, he's like, wow, you use attention a lot as a reinforcer. And I told him, attention is a huge reinforcer. Here with the dogs, with Milo, and especially with the parrots. That can work for you or against you. But a lot of times here, when we're training, we're only using food as a reinforcer maybe 45% of the time. A lot of, and that's one of my things on my list is one of the common mistakes I see is people not understanding reinforcement, not understanding how to identify reinforcers, and definitely not knowing how to implement it, and reinforcing undesired behavior and not realizing it. Daphne says high intensity interval training. Were you referring, Daphne, to the pet tutor? Daphne's full of great information. Daphne, I need to have you back on for another live stream. Adrian says failing to observe or ignoring the animal's body language. Yeah, and I was just telling Brittany this yesterday. I love working with animals. Sorry, had to reinforce the behavior. What? I love working with animals, especially species of animals that I've never worked with before, because what it does is I understand their body language, their behaviors. Body language is behavior. I learn their behavior through training. Oh, I forgot we have a behavior consultation today at 11:30 in the Parrot Project. Oops. Totally forgot about that. That's what I'll be doing right after this. Oh, great, Laura. Laura Zitzelberger, Director of Operations from Nature's Nursery, mentioned here she has really been working on not saying no with Mary Lou the Crow. I remember Mary Lou. Mary Lou came in here for a short period of time for training. Peekaboo, Rock. If you really want to fine-tune your training, I give you a simple tip. If you really want to fine-tune your training, tickle, 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 try to take the word no out of your interaction with your animal. Studies show that animals learn faster when being reinforced for what to do versus being told not to do. If I am telling something no, I am following it with instructions. That's primarily used, I use that with people because they can understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. I would say, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And then I'm going to follow it up with information. This is why. Because when you tell, I'm not just going to tell them no. If I ever tell no, I back it up with information and an alternative to do something else instead. Information is great. You can give that information through training with people, hopefully with the information that's coming out of our mouth. Yeah, because if you try to take the word no out of your vocabulary, and no also means this. I mean, don't. If you take the word no out of your vocabulary and out of your behavior, what it causes you to do is sit and think, what do I want the animal to do instead? What do I do in this situation? One of the things what I suggest you do is cue it to do another behavior so you can reinforce that behavior instead. We're teaching Rocky to ring his bell instead of screaming or giving other excessive attention-seeking behaviors. Because we see here a lot with a lot of exotics, the longer animals give attention-seeking behaviors, and if they are reinforced on an intermittent schedule, what I see is you're on your way to training separation anxiety. Give that some thought. Mimi says she's a happy cookie pusher. Cheers to all the cookie pushers. Okay, I know a lot of people are commenting and I need to catch up. I do go through and answer everybody or address everybody afterwards. It's not going to happen immediately afterwards today because I just got a reminder that I have an online behavior consult in the Parrot Project in 2 hours, and that's on feather destructive behaviors. Talk about one of the things on my list is stress. I don't want to use the word inability. People not being, I'm still using it just in different words. People not knowing the signs of stress in their animal. Not knowing what those stressful behaviors look like, such as lip licking, signs of stress with a parrot could be stretching those wings, but this is all contextual too. When is it happening? When isn't it happening? When I see a certain behavior and I'm not sure what it means, I may say, what else is going on in this environment? Turkey vulture just flew by the window, squirrel running outside, somebody sitting on my deck, new object in the environment, proximity, something moving, a light flickering, anything like that. I'm always, what else is going on in the environment? And then I will look for I'll just mentally note it or jot it down. And then the next time the behavior happens again, what else is going on in the environment? And those aren't coincidences. Those start to become environmental events you can now work with. Once you see this, identifying stress. Another one we have here, gosh, stress comes in all forms. It comes in all forms. Barking when people walk out that door, leaving this room. Screaming when people walk out that door, leaving this room. If those behaviors go on unattended or intervened, they can lead to more stressful situations for that individual animal. And stressors can be common among certain species, but I'm always paying attention to that individual animal, because what is common in one dog could be different in the next. What's common in one species could be different in the next. I could have two Moluccan cockatoos sitting next to each other. They're going to be so different. They're going to be so different, even if they're from the same clutch. Pamela says, interesting. So as you're walking and said dogs goes for that said bagel on the sidewalk, you would say, go, go, go? Great question, Pamela. What you could do, resort to things the animal already knows how to do, such as touch my hand, nose target, boom. So what you're doing, bagel is right here, hand is right here. You can ask them to touch the hand instead, redirect, and make sure you reinforce that behavior. That's a pretty big behavior. The four main factors of reinforcer effectiveness: disc, deprivation, immediacy, size, contingency. I would use the size on that one. I'm also using the deprivation. Dog hasn't had hot dogs since last time we went for the walk, so the hot dogs are highly valuable. Immediacy, bam, bridge. That's your bridge, and the delivery of the hot dog. Size, you're going to get 5 hot dog pieces instead of 1. And contingency, if this, then this. So some other things you can do, wow, you guys are saying a lot. Some other things you could do, Pamela, say you can't get dog off of said bagel. You can't, that is, do I use a positive punisher? And I was just talking to Brittany about this yesterday. And I agree with Paul Chance that says, I will use a positive punisher when the alternative of not using it is worse. But if I can't get dog off of said bagel, I will hold leash so the dog can't get to said bagel. Note to self, this needs more training before the next time we come out on a walk. So before I even go on a walk, before I do a lot of things, before I take Rocky on an outing, before I take Levi to the park, what problems could we encounter? Other dogs, other people, dogs off leash. Before I take Rocky, which we just went to the bank, didn't we? We had an outing. I need to crate train. I need to keep control over people so they're not hovering over top of the crate. Different things we can teach before we go on that outing. Targets. Target training is huge. We're talking about target training in level 1 right now. I can show you how I used a target, but we're getting ready to do that in level 1. Show you how I used a target to teach a dog to walk loosely on a leash beside me. Is that, Pam? What do you think about that? Let's see. Deb says, show us your tattoos. Okay, I can do that. We're about halfway done with my tattoos. We had an animal. We had an animal here that recently passed away. Hi. We'll lay on that one. Hang on, I'll show you my tattoos. I want to reinforce the behavior of Rico wanting to stay engaged in Coffee with the Critters. So, yeah, I ended up getting a tattoo of the animal that passed away because his life and the meaning of his life meant so much. And here he is in full color. Yeah, so these are my first tattoos. So I'm getting a whole sleeve done. There's Sam and his bell. Sam is our blind Amazon. He still is. There's Molly, the lemur we trained. That meant so much to all of us. So I chose Molly for the work with zoos, the work with exotics, and all the people here of the Animal Behavior Center. She's finished. He's finished. Rocky is not finished. May 17th, I'm going in. Rocky is the mascot of our center, yours truly. And then here, I just got started. This one's a little fresh, so be careful. This one's probably not even halfway done. It's my octopus. And Deb Jones, you were the one that told me get a tattoo of an octopus because you can keep on going. So he's only partly done. We haven't even started on the color. But yeah, so there's the beginning of my sleeve. And I've got one more animal we're going to implement right there. So, yeah. Go big or go home. Well, I didn't go home. Love you, Rock. So we're about halfway done with my sleeve. Hope to be done by the end of June. Yeah, Pamela says nice tattoos. Not a huge fan of tattoos, but they are true art. You know what? They give me energy, believe it or not. Whatever, Taco. They give me a lot of energy. They give me strength. And that's me as an individual. Okay? So every night I can still kiss Sam goodnight, which I was never allowed to do. Because I ran out of time. Pika, pika, peekaboo. Anyways, we can talk about a lot of that next week. Family, L.M. Burton says, family members who are terrified, where to start. This is with an animal in your home. Thanks, Angela. Yeah. Thanks, Tricia. People, if I am terrified of an animal, okay, LM says birds. Yes, birds. And gosh, I wish I could have live streamed this conversation yesterday with Brittany because it was a fabulous one. She was talking about humans. I'm talking about animals. We were talking about Joel Vidovic, BCBA here in Toledo, amazing mind, who I need to contact and get back on Coffee with the Critters. Joel works with people using applied behavior analysis. I work with non-human animals using applied behavior analysis. And what we're all doing is we're working with individuals using the laws of behavior. So, what Joel said after the seminar we had here a couple years ago, he goes, if we only treated our children in the school system as well as you guys treat your animals. And he was saying you guys to everybody in the audience. That statement has stuck in my head for these past several years. And having Brittany here working with children, we were discussing yesterday, she's putting herself in some pretty dangerous positions. And I'm just like, why is this even allowed to happen? Why is this even allowed to happen? You guys should be able to protect yourselves in the animal community. I am not going to put myself in danger's way. I love my life. I love everything that makes my life mine. And I am going to protect myself as much as I'm just not going to go in unprotected. Because if my future is ended, some of the cases we have in here, theirs isn't going to look too bright. So I told her, we're both talking about dangerous positions we've put ourselves in. I'm thinking of one dangerous position I put myself in within the past 5 years, and I didn't want to put myself in that position, but I'm the one that had the history with that animal, and a very dangerous animal got loose. So they came running to me and said, "This animal's loose," and I was like, "That's your problem. There's no way I'm stepping outside these doors." I decided to do it anyways because people's lives were in danger. And I went out, and when I train something, and it could be a dangerous encounter, I am training off contact. There are cage bars between us. And I always train for an accident. I always train in case these cage bars are never here. And that day came. I'm face to face with this animal, and I was like, holy crap. And I'm sweating. When I sweat under my eyes, that's when I'm nervous. That's note to self, stop doing whatever you're doing. And I thank God that I used positive reinforcement and applied behavior with analysis with this animal. Because what I did was I went out with a very long target stick and said, touch, and he knew what that meant. So he started walking towards me, and when he did, I was like, holy crap, here he comes. But I kept that target stick at length until I could get him in a safe environment for himself and for others. So back to Ellen Burton, I want to give them tools. My heart is more than willing, if that makes sense. Absolutely. Burton, I want to tell you, we have some pretty dangerous animals here. That's why we're the Animal Behavior Center. We're not a petting zoo. We're not a place for entertainment. These are all individual lives around me, and I respect them 150%. It's what our business is based around. I would say, I'm sitting here staring at a turkey vulture on a station. One of our most dangerous animals here, of all the animals we have, is that one right there. That's Coco, our 35-year-old umbrella cockatoo. When I first started working, I can't say what the animal is. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. It was a primate. How about that? When I'm first working with an animal, one of the things that I say, if you're nervous, key piece of advice, if you're nervous, stop. Stop. It's okay. Come here. She heard me. Come here, you want to come up and say hi? If you're nervous, all right, start a chain reaction. Stop. Because if you're nervous, it means you're not sure what the animal's going to do. If you're not sure what the animal's going to do, the animal's not sure what you're doing either. You're getting ready, your potential of reinforcing a very undesired behavior is extremely high. So stop. When I'm working with an animal, and that particular animal that got loose, when they first asked me to train it, I was like, I don't want to train this animal. I don't like this animal. I don't want to train this animal. What I don't like means I don't understand. And I'll tell you what, after a couple of months of training that animal, probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to, I fell in love with that animal because I started understanding it. I respected it. And I'm getting emotional because that's what I do. I'm getting emotional because it's the only reason I train. When I train an animal, it's because I want to empower their lives. I want to show them behind those cage bars, you have choice. I will implement more ways for you to have control. And I'm just sitting here, Deb Jones, if you're still on here. Robert Sapolsky, I just finished watching another one of his interviews on stress. Stressful situations are when we have lack of control. That can be a very stressful situation. And so many times we implement stress on ourselves by the thoughts that go through our head. Get control of those, because if you don't, your life is going to not be as good as it could be, both mentally and physically. So, Burton, if you're nervous, stop and peekaboo and put yourself in a position where you're not nervous, like this. Let's see if I can do it. And this is exactly where I started with Coco. I didn't trust him because I didn't know him. I didn't understand his behaviors. Believe me, I love animals. I love birds. I love cockatoos. That cockatoo is totally different than this one and this one. And the reason I love birds is numerous, but they're one of the most complex animals I've ever worked with. When I go to a zoo, you know the area they consistently have problems? We'll go through all the different enclosures, all the different species, but the ones that I find that the zoos say are the hardest are the parrots. So teach a target and a station. The first thing I do is feed through the cage bars where they can't bite you, but you don't even want them to want to bite you. You want to get them and invite you to come over. Hang on. I started a training session. Go! Ending a training session can be very stressful. Studies show that if you're actually using positive reinforcement, it's the animal's preferred form of enrichment. So why would they want it to stop? Right, Rob? I'm working with Coco. Remember what I said about Suki? Training. Okay? So I'm training through the cage bars. So redirecting tension at the end of a training session. So to make it as stressless as possible, ending the training session. The Snow Project, that's one of my online learning programs where I'm working with Snow, our deaf and blind dog. Peekaboo! So Burton, that's for you. That's where I start. And that's, gosh, I haven't even covered half the things I wanted to cover. Maybe we have a part 2. So you're very welcome. Where I started with Coco, where I started with that animal that was loose, I do not know you. I do not understand what any of this behavior means. And this behavior, in your head, you may be telling me this means back off. Back off. I'm showing you all these signs. I am not comfortable with this. Back off. If you do not back off, this is going to turn into this. I don't, in some of the animals I start working with, I'm like, I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means. And I'm not going to engage because I don't know if that's a desired behavior to me or an undesired behavior. So I usually start with, I'm going to show you. This is what I start with. Any animal, even the one that was out of the cage, I'll start like this. A lot of times when you're working with aggressive behaviors, you're working with fear. So there's my monkey. That just flew away. But this is what I'll do. Monkey's in the back of the enclosure. I walk by the front of the enclosure, drop something in, walk away. With that monkey, I believe it was bananas. Imagine that. So there's your reinforcer effectiveness, deprivation. I put on that monkey's training plans, no bananas. Do not deliver any bananas. Because you know who's going to be the deliverer of the bananas? Me. And every time I walk by, if that monkey was at the front of the cage and I went like this, he may not know what my intention is. And this is the same for a bird. I could reinforce in a lunge. That's communication. And like I said, I make mistakes. I just make sure I learn from them. So I will approach the animal, and we talk about this in the Parrot Project too. I will approach the animal at the opposite side of the cage and drop that treat in the cage. And then what I'm doing is I'm pairing myself as a conditioned reinforcer. I am pairing myself with all the positive. This is why we say, where's Rico? This is why we say, find all the things that are awesome in your animal's environment, collect them, and then start delivering them in association with you. Be your animal's deliverer of awesomeness. That's why yesterday when I was live streaming and I'm training a pig, Brittany started laughing at me. She goes, look at you. And I'm sitting here training a pig, which the pig could not wait to start doing what I was asking it to do. Pigeon flew on my head and Rocky was sitting beside me. And we're all sitting there and I'm reinforcing this, reinforcing this, reinforcing this. One of the common things people don't do is understand what stress looks like. They don't reinforce desired behaviors. This morning, here's an example. This works with husbands too. That is correct, Angela. I use it online all the time. Just don't tell them. Tickle! This morning, about an hour before Coffee with the Critters, I went to let all the dogs out. We have 3. Levi, our deaf dog, Quincy, our Rottweiler, and Snow, our deaf and blind dog. Here's what happens. Everybody clusters in front of the door. I can't get to the door. So I tell everybody, instead of telling them no, what do you want them to do instead? They know to station different areas in the dining room, not in the kitchen. I just don't like animals in the kitchen with me. It's my space. I'm resource guarding my kitchen. So when the dogs look to come in, they all have to have eye contact, except Snow because she doesn't have any. Take a wow. And then they wait and they listen. And I'll be like, that means Levi, come in. And it's not because Quincy's seen me do hand signals and she's like, do you want me to do that? Because Quincy knows sign language too. When they all came in, it was a beautiful thing. They all went to their stations in the dining room. Reinforce that. If you want to see that increase, reinforce it. That's another common mistake people make is they don't reinforce desired behavior. Another one is they don't understand reinforcers. Another one is they don't know reinforcers can change. They don't. Go to any parade. Go to any parade. And I guarantee you'll be able to identify at least 10 dogs that are scared to death because they're not used to, what are these things called? Cymbals? They're not used to cymbals and the drums and the fireworks and a large amount of people and all these strangers coming at its face like that. When I go to parades, I just don't go because it stresses the hell out of me watching all these animals under all this stress and people not being able to identify it. Yeah, somebody says I've been unintentionally reinforcing tail chasing. That's Pamela. Yep, that happens. Yep. Here too, I could tell Snow wanted something this morning. Sandy, you can come in if you want. When I walk downstairs, I can hear the patterns of feet on the hardwood floor. I walked downstairs and she was doing these very large circles. Very large circle means something different than a very small circle. And the pace in which she moves. This large circle is contextual, means a couple different things. It means I want, but I can't get it. Okay? All right, I am going to go back. This has been a great one. You guys want to have a part 2? Because I've only touched maybe 4 different topics, and I've got a list of about 10. So a couple of things coming up. Turn on your notifications to receive when we go live here on the Animal Behavior Center. I'm trying to go live more throughout the week. We have so much stuff happening here, and it's great. I'm also going to start doing more workshops here at the center. We have a big 10,000 square foot facility. Let's use it. Let's make use of it. And speaking of fabulous workshops, myself and Dr. Deb Jones are having our second all species animal and training workshop, which a couple of people that are on here will be here. Yeah, and one I get to meet for the first time. Good morning, Sandy. Sandy hates attention. So, yep, you can find that on our website. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Something else, if you like our live streaming services, we have several. We have our level 1 and level 2 membership, online learning. We have our 4 different projects, the Deaf Dog Project, the Parrot Project, the Pig Project, the Snow Project. Those are all species specific. Animal specific. First Sunday in June, we will be doing Coffee with the Critters from the Toledo Botanical Gardens. We have been asked to be one of the tables at the Wildlife Festival, and I will be out there training some of their animals. And I will be going live, and Laura Zitzelberger, Director of Operations at Nature's Nursery, will be live streaming too. If you haven't signed up for our email newsletter, you can do that right here on the Animal Behavior Center's Facebook page. I do, and you guys that are signed up, I've been getting better at sending out our email newsletters, which are full of information. You're very welcome, everybody. Yay, Sandy, I'll see you in October. And Daphne, yep. Thank you guys, and like I said, don't miss next weekend, okay? It's going to be a very tough one for me, but we got to get it out there, okay? Because there's some information that people can do better with. All right. See you guys. Thanks for being such loyal followers. We appreciate it. We like that rain.